Comey came out and like backstabbed them. He was supposed to tell Loretta Lynch about all this and he didn't. He just like held a press conference, came out, started running his mouth. They're like, what the hell did you just do? He did not recall the New York Times having this information, but Page told investigators she definitely did. And she took a break from the meeting to discuss with Strzok. This is such a scam, dude.
Speaker McCarthy got this one exactly right. Adam Schiff should be nowhere near serving on the Intelligence Committee. I don't think he should be seeing classified information.
James Comey, former FBI director, busted. We got a bunch of documents now released, declassified, passed on to us courtesy of our friends at Just the News, John Solomon and his crew, Jerry Dunleavy, and Sean Davis over at the Federalist, publishing 266 pages of evidence showing just how corrupt and rotten the FBI is. And this is the initiation document, the 1057, saying our goal here is to open a media leak investigation based on information that was identified by this agency, right? Reason from this date, this date, this date. Here's what we've got. I see these 4 articles, and Comey's involved in this one, right? Big time, as we saw. 4 articles, Washington Post, New York Times, Washington Post again, Wall Street Journal. We also got some other documents, other notes, and more. Now, according to a memo that was dated August 1st, 2017, so for context, Trump is in the White House, from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Security Division, Counterintelligence, and more, the idea is to open a media leak investigation based on information provided by this agency. So something dated on June 23rd, 2017 from this agency reported the unauthorized disclosure of classified information in 8 articles, okay, published between April and June 2017. Subject matter experts determined the articles disclose the information classified up to the something level, right? Very serious. Now, the captioned investigation is predicated on the following 4 articles. We know who wrote them: Ellen Nakashima Matapuzzo, Karun Durmijian, and Holman Jenkins. Washington opened up this investigation to dig into this. August 1st, 2017, counter-espionage section, writing the following. All right, the counter-espionage section, the CES, we got the above reference document dated June 23rd, 2017 from these people reporting unauthorized disclosure. And so now this is from the DOJ, right? They got a report from somebody. The report, they say, looks pretty credible. So we request the FBI actually open up an investigation. DOJ says go and start looking into it. They got their orders and they did. Any questions, call us. So here's what we've got. This is our full investigation analysis now out from the FBI, explaining a lot for us, saying our job here, what was the purpose of this investigation? Like, are you guys just bored or what? Actually, no. The idea is we were trying to obtain information about or prevent or protect against federal crimes and their threats to national security. And they're terrible at their job because nobody got arrested or indicted for anything. They say, here are the appropriate questions. This is an activity we're investigating that constitutes a federal crime and a threat to national security. So you probably should look into it, right? So here's the factual predicate. So what is the basis for opening up this investigation? Here's what's going on. According to letterhead memorandum dated August 1st, the US DOJ and the National Security Intelligence export groups all are concerned about unauthorized disclosure. We know the 4 articles, and now classified by, declassified on. This is an email. We don't know to or from or where it's going, but it's FBI Washington Field Office and FBI somebody else. Here they say supervisory special agent, FBI HQ. No preferred pronouns there that we can see. Says, hey, good afternoon. Please find attached a memo saying providing notification of the opening of a national security full investigation of a U.S. person involving a sensitive investigative matter, SIM. This investigation is codenamed Arctic Haze and has FBI case number so-and-so, and we got to follow these reports and do the things appropriately, so just do it, okay? Got it. Now, we now have the factual predication. So with all that, we got all these articles. We're opening up a special investigation, letters going back and forth. DOJ is bringing the FBI back in. Here they say why. FBI Washington Field Office opened the Arctic Haze investigation based on a something dated on June 23rd, 2017. Now, the redacted report related that a New York Times article contained classified information. The article was titled, Comey tried to shield the FBI from politics, but then he shaped an election. And this article was written by Matt Apuzzo. Now, the article discussed the FBI and their mid-year exam of Hillary Clinton and her private emails, which we saw a lot about. In particular, the article focused on James Comey's decision to make public statements about the mid-year investigation. On July 5th, Comey issued a public statement announcing the FBI was halfway done. His public statement, which was made unilaterally and in a manner that the DOJ later found to be in violation of policy. Remember, Comey came out and like backstabbed them. He was supposed to tell Loretta Lynch about all this and he didn't. He just like held a press conference, came out, started running his mouth. They're like, what the hell did you just do? And they said, you can't do that. You're the FBI. You work for us. Criticized Clinton for uncharged conduct. And later, Comey made additional congressional unilateral statements to Congress about reopening and again closing it just prior to the presidential election. And our read on it, of course, is he was trying to clear her before the election. That ultimately backfired, and people were disgusted by it. Comey has publicly indicated on several occasions that classified information contributed to his decision to make his independent announcements. Comey provided sworn testimony to the DOJ, OIG, Office of Inspector General, and the Senate Select Committee, saying that he made the announcement independently because he believed that Loretta Lynch, if he involved her, would result in corrosive doubt about whether Lynch was acting impartially, because we already know Lynch was approached by McCabe. McCabe said, hey, we've got a pretty interesting report here that says that you're colluding with Hillary Clinton's campaign staffers for investigation, funneling them information, and she just sat there like, thanks for telling me. Comey provided several justifications for this belief. First, Lynch was appointed by a president from the same political party as Clinton, so she's a Democrat and they're all hacks. Comey's like, well, I can't say that, so that's close enough. Second, Lynch had earlier directed Comey to refer to mid-year exam as a matter, okay, and not an investigation. Don't call it an investigation, because that sounds bad for us. Third, Lynch had a public and private conversation, a widely publicized private conversation with Bill Clinton during an apparent chance encounter on the tarmac of a Phoenix, Arizona airport. We remember that. Their planes just happened to pass each other. And fourth, Comey had concerns the classified information, which directly related to the AG, would be leaked to the media if I told her. So he says, there's been some accounts on it, but yeah, we have been briefed on the classified facts. Got it. Now, Comey alluded to the information, his classified information in his book. He wrote this, right? Higher loyalty, truth lies in leadership. And Comey says that he's the true person who leads, even though that's fiction. According to Comey, there was a development in early 2016 concerning some unclassified information that had come into the possession of the United States government. Now, according to Comey, former FBI director, the information came from a classified source, still remains classified, still unknown to the American public. Now, had it become public, the unverified material would undoubtedly have been used by political opponents to cast doubt on Lynch's independence, is what he wrote in his book. Comey wrote, he was bothered that there was classified information that would someday become public and be used to attack the integrity and the independence of the FBI, which is obviously corrupt as hell. Now, in classified testimony to the OIG, Comey confirmed the specified classified information, which was discussed in the New York Times article, and indicated that, yeah, it did make an impact in my decision to make statements about this, right? So he's like, yeah, no, I talked to them about classified information. And that classified information was like useful to you. Like, you used it? Yes, I used it. And then you told them about it? Yes. You run the FBI, right? Like, you know, you're not supposed to do that. Since the start of the investigation in August, investigators have taken the following steps. Search all FBI hardline phones and email records for contacts in known reporter facilities. Reviewed spin searches on hardline phone and email records for known reporter facilities. Obtained and reviewed a multitude of telephone records on cell and work devices for FBI employees in the pool of suspects who are leaking, and redacted. Did this too, and analyzed handwritten notes taken by FBI employees, and we looked at all the pictures that Lisa Page and Peter Strzok were texting each other. Gross. We analyzed thousands of documents and other items of evidence, redacted, including their love notes. Reviewed administrative and classified materials, 3 reports, FBI 302s from Mueller, the investigation conducted by Durham in Tropic Vortex. Analyzed a lot of this. Now, based upon the discussions with the DOJ, all of this, okay, all of that work that they got into, unfortunately, oh man, guess what? It did not generate sufficient proof to charge anyone with willfully transmitting the classified info, conspiring, or even aiding and abetting. Oh no! Redacted. So investigators learned the FBI Office of Public Affairs was told to literally assist the New York Times. According to interviews with FBI employees, James Comey either directed or otherwise authorized the FBI's official assistance to the New York Times. FBI OPA did not coordinate or brief DOJ leadership or DOJ Office of Public Affairs about this decision, even though AG Lynch had already left the department. You know, he doesn't have that conflict that he can still cry about. And DOJ regulations called for coordination in cases of media contact with the New York Times, okay? So Comey is in open violation of his policies. The DOJ has regulations, okay? This is acting outside the scope of his employment. He is committing crimes by abusing this relationship to bypass everything else that he is doing. You can make the argument. Now, as part of the FBI's assistance, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were also interviewed about this, and they were the FBI lovers who were texting each other. We will stop him. Yeah, baby. During an interview with the investigative team, Strzok, pathetic, stated he believed that FBI executive management, he said, well, I think they told me to meet with the New York Times. Well, that's interesting. So Strzok was just following orders. Well, I thought the executive management told them to meet with the New York Times. Oh, so Strzok said he recalled being told to provide an investigator-level briefing on the mid-year exam investigation to the news. These briefings took place on these dates. During the briefing, the New York Times told Strzok and Page they had the classified info. Strzok told investigators he did not recall the New York Times having this information, but Page told investigators she definitely did. And she took a break from the meeting to discuss with Strzok. This is such a scam, dude. So they're investigating these two people, and they allow Lisa Page to go take a break and then corroborate her stories with her co-conspirator. The FBI's like, well, you know, Peter Strzok said that they didn't talk about classified information. She's like, oh, dang it. That's what he said? All right, let me go talk to him. Like, okay, fine. We're going to pause the interview right now. Then she goes out. They corroborate the story. Then Page comes back, indicated that she alerted her supervisors about this. And according to the FBI OPA, the New York Times advised them in their interview about the content of the articles on the classified information and redacted. Now, here's more. By way of background, this guy called Richman that Comey was facilitating classified information to, and who was publishing this in the media, or acting as a liaison, passing it off to other journalists, so-called. Remember they raided Trump's house for being in possession of so-called classified documents that were his documents because he was the president? Yeah, we do. By way of background, Richman is a Columbia University law professor, and he's a close friend of Comey. They met while working in the Southern District of New York, one of the most corrupt districts in the world. The New York Times article contains several quotes that came from Daniel Richman, which defended Comey's decision to make that announcement about Hillary. In 2015, Comey instructed the FBI to hire Richman as a special government employee, right? Just bring him on, give him whatever he wants, and grant this guy top secret clearance with access to sensitive compartmented information. Some law professor from Columbia who's besties with James. FBI records indicated Richman was hired to work on, quote, going dark matters. The investigation, though, revealed Comey also hired Richman so that Comey could discuss sensitive matters with him, including classified information with someone outside of the FBI's regular leadership, right? So Comey's just going to say, well, it's just like a consultant. Now, Comey also used Richman as a liaison to the media. On several occasions, Richman spoke with the media about consultation with the FBI or the DOJ. Richman contacted journalists and he corrected stories that were critical of Comey, acting as Comey's little media enforcer. The FBI, and to shape future press coverage, okay, from James Comey's position. Not coming out explaining the truth, coming out to have some hacks, seed proper narratives that support him. Richman did this both when he was a special government employee and even after he resigned from the FBI. Now, the investigation revealed that Richman, the law professor, had been a source for Michael Schmidt. Michael Schmidt, of course, is one of the reporters who wrote an article, and he's been with the New York Times since 2008. Richman first spoke with this journalist from the Times regarding an investigation into illegal activity into sports. But prior to Richman working for Comey, Schmidt visited Richman's house numerous times. In fact, the New York Times quoted Richman several times, both on the record and on the background, in stories about Jim Comey. After he was terminated by Trump, Comey used Richman as a conduit to convey to the media a memoranda of his meetings with Trump. And look at all these redactions. Now, although Richman later told the interviewing agents that Comey never asked him to talk to the media, redacted. What? What did he say? Because that's probably good evidence of intent there, federal agents. On November 22nd, the Arctic Haze investigative team interviewed Richman, the professor. According to Richman, Comey and Richman talked about the hammering that Comey was taken from the media about his Clinton expose, which was a cover-up for her. Richman opined that Comey took comfort in the fact Richman had talked to the press about his feelings. So, in other words, Comey's like, I can't call the media and say, I'm a big crybaby about this. I'm doing my job, and I'm a partisan hack who actually manipulated the results in order to achieve the outcome I wanted. But he can't go and do that because it's pathetic, so he's just going to pass it off through a third party. According to Richman, he and Comey had a private conversation in Comey's office, January 2017. A lot of people were having a lot of conversations at that time because their whole world had been obliterated. The conversation pertained to Comey's decision to make the mid-year statement about Clinton. Comey told Richman the tarmac meeting between Lynch and Clinton was not the only reason which played into his statement. According to Richman, Comey also told Richman that Lynch wanted to call it a matter, and Richman recalled Comey told him that there was some weird classified material related to Lynch, which came to the FBI's attention, right? That was her emails, the email from Leonard Bernardo saying that she was leaking information to basically Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was chairing the DNC at the time. Comey did not fully explain the details of the information. Yeah. Comey told Richman about classified info, including the source. Richman understood the information could be used to suggest Lynch might not be impartial. Richman understood the information was highly classified. Comey's spilling his guts to his friend. He says, I know it's highly classified. It should be protected. Richman was an employee at the time of the meeting. meeting, right? So he's got cover because Comey hired him. According to Richman, he and Schmidt, so the law professor and the journalist, had a conversation shortly after meeting with Comey. Richman claimed, the professor, that the journalist brought up the classified information, and he knew more about the classified information than I did, so he didn't get it from me. Richman was pretty sure he did not confirm the classified information. Well, maybe he was just probing you and you just confirmed it for him or not. Like he was just saying, I know this and this and this, and you're like, you were confirming things. So like, could he have been doing that? He's like, I don't think so. However, Richman told the interviewing agent that he was sure with a discount that he did not tell Schmidt about the classified information. So I don't know exactly what that means. So I'm sure with a discount. So it's like 100% sure, but there's a discount on that. So you're like 90% sure. Richman did not know who gave Schmidt the information. Richman acknowledged he had many discussions with Schmidt about the article as a special government employee, more to the article than what was attributed to him by name. Richman also stated he knew Schmidt talked to numerous other government sources as well, leaking, and more redactions as we go through. That's just great. On June 29th, Comey provided consent with his lawyer for the FBI to conduct a limited search of his Apple iPhone. So the FBI conducted a forensic exam of his phone. The examination indicated 4 voicemails, 4 instant messages, 2 email messages, and 51 images. None of this material contained information relevant to this investigation. So he wiped the phone multiple times and then took a picture of some seashells on the seashore. Investigators then turned their attention to individuals who were on this team, and they had not been interviewed. So-and-so and so-and-so happened, and after discussing the status of the investigative leads and the resources available, the FBI investigative team was directed to interview only those officials who have had a motive to protect Comey. And so therefore, the FBI only interviewed 8 of these officials, who consisted mainly of former FBI officials. All of these officials denied they did anything wrong because they're feds. Oh, me? Of course not. The investigation, according to the FBI's conclusion, says there's not sufficient evidence to criminally charge anybody, including Comey or Richman, with making false statements or with the substantive offenses under the investigation. And probably because, well, he's a special government employee, so he's allowed. We also understand the DOJ has historically not approved the prosecution of pure confirmatory sources of classified information under the law. The investigation has also not identified any evidence regarding anyone else. And so due to the inability to further narrow the subject pool and the lack of all other logical investigative steps, we've exhausted all leads. And since there's no way to accurately scope the subject pool, additional techniques would not be effective in advancing the investigation. Oh, so the FBI admits that their failures. They say investigative efforts have failed to identify the source or the sources of the unauthorized public disclosure. Pathetic. They can't even find anything. Per the FBI Domestic Investigations Guide, sufficient personnel and financial resources were expended. There are no outstanding leads, logical investigative techniques or evidence remaining, and so we recommend out of Washington closing the investigation. Now, could you imagine if the subject of this investigation was like Michael Flynn or Peter Navarro or a January 6er or Steve Bannon, or you'd pick a name? Would they have just called it? We'll just call it. It's just good. It's like Friday, man. Let's just call it. And so they closed the case right there, closing the case, and that's it. Concurrence. Let's close it. On 2021, FBI and the DOJ provided concurrence. Guess who's in charge right now? 2021. That's Biden. So then they say, close the investigation. There's nothing else that you need to look into here, okay? The U.S. attorney, who's now, they just waited Trump out, has requested the FBI maintained evidence in case you need to go look into it, but it is closed. And this was John Brennan. Look at him. Look at that face right there. Yeah, John. We're looking forward to seeing that face behind bars there, bucko. So here is what Gunther Eagleman had to say, saying he was over on Inside Jen Psaki's show, which I guess they changed the name.
Director under President Obama, now MSNBC senior intelligence analyst. Okay, Russian propaganda TV is Russian propaganda TV. But to me, it's interesting because it's like, what is the point of this meeting, really? What do you think is the best outcome and the worst outcome of this meeting?
Well, the best outcome is if no damage occurs as a result of this meeting. I think that's the best outcome. The worst outcome is that Donald Trump is going to continue to concede to Vladimir Putin concessions as far as the Ukraine conflict is concerned. I mean, let's face it, Vladimir Putin is an international pariah. He's been indicted by the Criminal Court of Justice.
You're an international pariah and a national pariah too. So I guess he's still doing the Russian thing. So that's all we need to listen to him. But apparently he's not in Austria. It sounds like he's hanging out with Jen Psaki. But this was another clip that was resurfaced for us from Real Robert at real_RobN over on X. Great clip he dug up from January 2023. And this was when Mike Mike Pompeo looked a little bit different, a little extra, poundage around the face, but very astute points that he was making years ago, knowing, right, a lot of this already. Now we're getting to see the inside documents that support these claims.
You about the Speaker's decisions.
So I had the incredible privilege to serve on that committee. It covers the most classified, most difficult stuff. Not every member of Congress gets to see the information that the Intelligence Committee sees. And Adam Schiff lied to the American people. And during my time as CIA Director and Secretary of State, I know that he leaked classified information that had been provided to him. Now, the fact that Adam Schiff was the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee almost ruined that committee. It serves an incredibly important function for the American people. Speaker McCarthy got this one exactly right. Adam Schiff should be nowhere near serving on the Intelligence Committee. I don't think he should be seeing classified information.
And sir, given that he leaked information, that's a felony at minimum, up to treason. Why was there no accountability for the millions of people watching right now? How is that being allowed to go further, let alone giving him the fodder for him to complain about being removed from the committee?
So it's a complicated process, right? It's difficult to pin down precisely what happened, but I could tell you that when we provided information to him and to his staff, it ended up in places it shouldn't have been with alarming regularity, and we could see it. So in the end, I decided I held back information from them. As a result of that, I just didn't have confidence that providing that information, which was my obligation to work with the congressional branch, right, to work with them, I didn't feel comfortable we could do that. And so I've been troubled by Mr. Schiff's behavior. He told the American people repeatedly, oh, there's more to know about the Russia hoax. We suffered for 2.5 years in the administration. There's more to come. He knew it wasn't true. He went after Devin Nunes in ways that were indecent when he knew what Representative Nunes had written was true. He was out telling a whopper, and you shouldn't be around the Intelligence Committee when you can't manage both classified information and the truth.
Yeah, and shout out to that anchor saying that it was treason. And Pencil was thinking he was going to be rewarded by being Hillary Clinton's CIA director. Okay, so the payoff was going to be worth the crime. Now, here is another representative called Mark Harris, shouting out John Solomon and others who are doing some great digging on these and getting the documents up for us to review. He was here talking about what he thinks should be happening to these people, Schiff, Comey, the rest of them, who are leaking materials to everybody.
These are facts that the American people cannot deny. These are the things that I think we have wanted to know. People have kind of believed in their gut that these things happen, but now you actually have documentation. You have the whistleblower. You have the documents that Kash Patel has declassified that we're now able to see this information for ourselves. And I just think that's critical. We've been saying for months that when the facts come out, that if what we believe may be true is proven true, it's going to make Watergate look like child's play.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what we're seeing unfold before our very eyes with this.
Watergate was a breaking and entering to get some documents and get some information. They set up operational hierarchies to leak documents. Comey hired media liaisons to go correct stories, providing that guy classified information. FBI investigated themselves 7 times and couldn't figure it out because they're so pathetic. And now we have a new leader in charge over there.